I'm going to show you today how to create an efficient frontier in Python using Google Colab. And so let's get started. What I've got here is a bunch of cell blocks. I've got them hidden right now. I'm going to go through this. So through them now with you, but these are all the main steps. And rather than type out all the code as well, what I'm going to do is show you what the code is, show you how it works, run it for you, and then I'm going to give you a link to it. There is a link to this code in my GitHub repository in the description of this video. So anyways, let's check it out. So I've got a handful of steps here. Number one, we're going to import the main libraries. Number two, we're going to download some data directly from Yahoo Finance. Number three, we're going to calculate the returns of all those assets, and we're going to annualize them as well as the volatility. Number four, we're going to create the optimizer engine, and then in cell block 5, we're going to trace the efficient frontier. We're actually going to create it there. And then finally in 6, we are going to chart it all out for you. So this shouldn't take too long. So let's go through each one of these. So here is cell block 1. And these are my imported libraries. Okay. Now, NumPy, the very first one, I'm going to import it as NP. So I'm just changing the name to NP to keep it shorter. And basically, that's the foundation of numerical computing in Python. So it provides fast arrays, matrix math, standard deviation, dot products, square roots, all kinds of fun stuff. So we're going to need to use NumPy. Number two is Pandas. Pandas is kind of like the Excel stuff that you do in Python. This is the data table library. It provides the data frame, which is a table with rows and columns, just like in Excel. So we'll use Pandas as well. Number three, we're going to import Matplot library as PLT. Okay, so for this one, what this one does is it provides all the tools that's going to allow us to create charts and plots and all that fun stuff. So when we chart, we're going to go to that. Next thing is we're going to import YFinance as YF. So this is Yahoo Finance. If you haven't installed YFinance before this, which I already have, you first need to run a line up above. It's just going to be pip install YFinance with a exclamation point in front. So I'm showing you that right here. You'll need to run that first. I don't do that here because I've already installed it. The next thing is from skippy.optimize, we're going to import minimize. So that's the minimization function that we're going to need to do to use to create the efficient frontier. So we can either maximize something or minimize something. We're going to minimize volatility for a given level of return. So those are the libraries we have to import, and once we do that, it makes our life a lot easier. So cell block 2. Now in cell block 2, what we do here is we're just importing some data right from Yahoo Finance. We're going to first define a list called tickers. So this could even be 3 or 5 or 8 characters long. I decided to just import 5 tickers: Walmart, IBM, Microsoft, Google, and Cigna. You can do other ones if you want. I'm creating a data frame called prices, and in there I'm going to download all the tickers. The starting month is going to be in 2018 January, the ending month 2026 in June. You can see that there. We're going to do monthly data, and then I'm asking it for auto adjust equals true. That means I'm going to include dividends in there, so it's going to give us some actual adjusted returned actual returns, total returns, and I'm asking for the closing price for each of these. So really right now we're just downloading prices, and then we're later going to, here in cell block 3, this is where we're actually going to calculate the returns. So we're creating another, call it a data frame called monthly returns, and in there we're calculating something called price percentage change. So this is a function that we're going to use, percentage change, and the mean return then is going to be defined as the monthly returns dot mean times 12. So that's how we're annualizing them. These are arithmetic annualization, not geometric annualization. So we are multiplying by 12. We're just scaling up monthly returns. We're doing the same thing with covariance matrix. Generally, when people do optimizations, this is generally what they do. They multiply by 12 instead of doing some kind of geometric annualization. Okay. So I'm just following convention here. All right. So I have to reindex here. This is just to make sure that everything is in the correct order. So basically, I'm just telling it to be in the same order as the tickers that I downloaded earlier, just to make sure everything's in the same order so I don't mix and match returns and wrong ticker columns, okay? I'm going to print this out and to take a look at it. So, these first three cell blocks I haven't even run yet, so I'm going to go ahead and run them in order real quick. So this one's going to take just a second because I'm importing some libraries. Okay, and once I do that, this one should be pretty quick. I run that, and I come down here, and this gives, I'm telling it to display just kind of the first five rows here. So it gives me Cigna, Google, IBM, Microsoft, and Walmart. These are prices adjusted for dividends. And then down here in subblock 3, which I walked you through earlier, let's go ahead and run that code block as well. And let's check out the output there. These are the annualized returns, just the monthly return multiplied by 12. The monthly mean return multiplied by 12 for each of these stocks. You can see Cigna kind of has the lowest return, only 8.7%, which still isn't all that bad, but this has certainly been a time period where the market has been up. Google's up 26% annualized, Walmart 17%. So down here is the covariance matrix. So what's interesting is across the diagonal here, these are the volatilities of each of these stocks. So you can see the least volatile stock is Walmart. So when we create a minimum variance portfolio, you can imagine that Walmart's going to figure prominently in that. Cigna has a volatility of 8%. So Cigna didn't really have a very good return, and it kind of has a high risk, interestingly enough. So just like to take a look at this. But so I would think Cigna wouldn't get a large weight when we're really trying to maximize return here. Anyways, this is what we got so far. Now let's check out cell block 4. Okay, this is the optimizer. We're going to minimize volatility for a given level of return in this cell block. Okay, a little bit longer cell block, but not too long. We're going to first define a function called minimum volatility. So I could have minimized volatility. I could have called this function anything I wanted to, but I'm first defining the function. I'm not executing it just yet. I'm defining it. I'm going to feed in 4 things here, 4 parameters: target return, mean return, covariance matrix, and the number of assets. Okay, and this, when I run this function, it's going to call another function that I'm defining right now called portfolio volatility. And basically what this function does is it calculates volatility. Okay, and the way it does this, it uses matrix math. So if you look at this line right here, okay, what I'm doing is this MP dot is basically saying let's multiply these things together. I'm multiplying weights transposed. So this is a weight vector transposed. What does that mean? That means I'm turning a column of weights into a row of weights. Okay, and I'm going to multiply those weights times this covariance matrix. Okay, the covariance matrix. And then that's going to be a 5 by 5 matrix. And then I'm going to multiply all of that times the weights again. So it's really weights squared times the covariance matrix if I want to read it that way. So that is this is matrix math, and I have to use NumPy to do that. Okay. So keeping going down here, it's going to put some constraints on the optimizer. Okay, so it's telling it when we run the optimization, we're going to run some constraints. This first one is going to be the full investment constraint. In other words, the weights have to sum to 100%. So what I'm doing is it expects these 2 constraints. It expects a constraint of some sort, and it's telling me that I want the equality function. Okay, the equality function, and that means whatever comes over here has to equal 0. Well, what has to equal 0? The sum of the weights minus 1 have to equal 0. So in other words, the sum of the weights have to equal 1. In other words, the sum of the weights have to equal 100%. Okay, so it's the full investment constraint. And then the second constraint here is that the target return, the return that I calculate has to equal the target return. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize volatility for a given level of target returns. So this makes sure that I'm going to keep switching the weights. I'm going to iterate on weights until I get something where the sum of the weights is equal to 100% and something where the return that I get is equal to the target return that I'm targeting. All right. You'll see, it's going to take a little bit of you walking through this and running it on your own to understand it completely. I'm going to put another bound, another constraint on this. So over here, bounds. And what I'm doing is 0 to 1. That means the minimum weight in any stock can be 0%. The max can be 100%. Okay, so this is like the no shorting constraint. If I wanted to allow for shorting in the optimization, I would change that to -1. Okay, so I would allow that to short stocks. But here I'm saying I cannot short any stocks. I have to have at least 0% and at most 100% in any given stock. It also wants an initial guess. The initial guess is going to be, what is my starting portfolio? So when it runs an optimization, it's got to have an initial starting point. And so what I'm doing is I'm creating weights where the weight is 1 divided by the number of assets. In other words, it's an equal weighted portfolio. 1 divided by 5 is the number of assets. N assets is 5 in this case. So 1 divided by 5 is 20%. So every stock is going to have a 20% weight when I initially kick this off. And then it says, okay, give me the result, and it's going to run the minimization function, and it's going to give me some different outputs here. Okay, so that one takes a little bit longer for me to walk you through. Hopefully it makes sense. Let's go to cell block 5. Cell block 5 is we're going to trace the efficient frontier. So now what we're going to do is we're going to iterate on cell block 4. And let me re-expand that, and maybe I'll just run that real quick. Okay, and cell block 5. So you can see there's no output yet because we haven't gone to this part yet where we're actually going to iterate on cell block 4, and we're going to do it like 30 times. So you'll see that here. The number of assets, I need to define what the number of assets are. Well, it's going to be the length of the tickers. There's 5 tickers, so the number of assets is going to be 5 in this case. The minimum return is going to be the smallest return for any one of my stocks. Okay, so I think that's Cigna, 8.7%. And the maximum return is going to be whatever stock had the highest return. Let's see, going back up here, it looks like it's going to be Google at 26.57% right there. Okay, so so let's go back down here. So I'm basically assigning these different scalar numbers. Number of assets is 5, min return 8.7%, maximum return 26.57%. Target returns, I'm going to call NumPy here, and it says what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a series of target returns that are equal distance 30 different times between the minimum return and the maximum return. So in other words, I'm going to create 30 different target returns that are equally apart from 8.7 to 26.57. So it kind of figures out that distance, and it's going to create 30 different target returns. Okay. Now I'm going to create an initial empty called list, called frontier volatility and frontier weights. We're going to fill those in as we iterate through here. Okay. For the target return, for the first target return, minimize the volatility for that target return. Okay, minimize the volatility given the target return, given my mean returns, given the covariance matrix, and given the number of assets. Okay, and so I'll let you kind of go through that. Then then it's going to create a new data frame called frontier data frame. It's basically going to use the some stuff that I've calculated before and format it so that I can get a nice output. Okay, so I'm going to build a clean results table, target return volatility, and then I'm going to display the weights as a percentage for readability. Okay, so you can go through that. Let me go ahead and read or run that, and let's see what my output is here. And here it is. Okay, so it starts off, so there should be 30 different, it starts at 0 and ends at 29. So you can see there's 30 different target returns, and they're all equal distance apart. Okay, so the first target return is 8.78%. This is going to be my lowest return stock, and remember that's Cigna. So everything's in Cigna. And so as I start to increase my return, I start to allocate less to Cigna and to something else that has more return. And I'm trying to minimize volatility at 9.39%. So the least volatile portfolio at 9.39% has these weights. Okay, and that's based on the NumPy engine that ran. okay, the minimized volatility. And as I keep going up in volatility, as I keep going down in volatility, initially, ironically, my returns keep going up. And that's going to stop at one point, at a certain point. And let's go to the minimum volatility portfolio here. This is going to be interesting. Right around here, this kind of looks like the minimum variance or the minimum volatility portfolio. This is the least volatile we can get at 14.83. Here are the weights to my stocks at that low volatility portfolio. So you can see Walmart has a good weight. Even Cigna still has a weight though at that min vol portfolio. Remember, I'm minimizing volatility given these target returns. From this point forward, you will notice that as the vol starts going higher here, my returns are now going higher, okay? And at some point that ends, so the highest return I can get is just 100% in Google. I can't do any better than that because Google is the highest return stock. So that's going to be my highest return. And these are all the different weights. You could easily export this to Excel and play with it a bit if you want, okay? Now I'm just going to chart all of that right there. Cell block 6. Here is cell block 6. I commented out these importations. I initially put that in there. I don't need to do that. So anything that's commented here is not running. So anything with a numerical sign right there is not running. Okay, so here I'm going to chart it. And so, this is a little bit longer code, but I think I can explain it here. I'm defining a data frame here called asset volatility, and it's creating the square root of every stock's own volatility, okay? It's creating a figure. It's defining the size of the figure here. It's plotting the volatility and the target return and the efficient frontier. And then it's also going to plot the individual stocks here as well within it. So it's creating two things. It's creating the efficient frontier and it's plotting the individual stocks in that efficient frontier. And then it's creating labels for them, okay? It's creating some axes here. It's creating different labels, different titles. So let's go ahead and run this and you see what it looks like here. Okay, and this should look like your classic efficient frontier if it's done correctly. And let's pull down here and voila, there it is. Okay, pretty neat. Here's your efficient frontier. And sorry, my screen's not a little bigger than it can be here. I'll minimize my screen a little bit so you can see this a little better. But, kind of plots the way we think, right? And the reality is, in an efficient frontier, the only thing that's really relevant to our sake is everything that's above the minimum variance portfolio, the minimum volatility portfolio. Because all of this stuff down here, these are bad portfolios. These are the most efficient portfolios we can have. But you can see that, using these 5 dots, we generally can create better portfolios up here than any one of these own dots can give us by itself. Okay, and that's the whole benefit of diversification. So this is my minimum variance portfolio. Down here, the reason it goes this way is because remember what I'm doing is I'm minimizing volatility for a given level of expected return. So this is the very first expected return that I had. It was the Cigna's return, which was the lowest. And as I started to go higher and higher and higher in return, my volatility initially went down. And then all of a sudden, I'm minimizing volatility for a higher target return, for a target return of 20%. What's the lowest volatility I can get? It's this level here. And so it starts to trace upwards like that. Now, a couple of caveats here. For my returns, my expected returns, I used historical mean returns. Okay, that is generally a bad idea to use historical mean returns in an efficient frontier. 9 out of 10 times when you see an efficient frontier and somebody's doing one, they're using historical returns to create this stuff. But the reality is you should have forward-looking returns because, as they say, past performance is no guarantee of the future, and it is often a bad predictor of the future. So I'm doing it for ease and just to show you some of the math and how this works more than anything. But for you probably want to feed in your own expected returns or develop your own method for creating expected returns, which I can do in other videos, of course, as well. Okay, so just remember that this code can be found in my GitHub repository. That link is found in the descriptions of this video, so you can easily find that. I hope you found this video helpful. If you like to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel because this is where I make finance fun for students. Thank you.